tell you, I don't care. Have fun editing this because it's a lot, babe. Like you just.
You know what's a lot?
In the midst of me talking.
I know.
You know that's my pet peeve is when you are not looking at me or you're trying to do something while I'm talking. Because I give you my full what? Undivided attention. We believe marriage teaches us more about ourselves than we would ever find by only viewing ourselves from a distorted lens.
Don't believe us? Stay tuned if you dare to form a different opinion about yourselves from each episode.
This is Unfrequent Talks
with Jenny
and Aaliyah.
Oh, what's on your mind?
Expectations in a relationship.
Oh, wow. You just killed the mood, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, man. Okay, expectations.
Yeah.
In a relationship. That's crazy.
And I'm speaking specifically, I think, for our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Not I think, I know. Yeah. So I feel like in the beginning of our marriage, I had certain expectations, and those expectations have evolved throughout the years of our marriage.
Yeah, we have. I know I definitely had expectations.
What are some of your expectations you had in the beginning of our marriage? Versus now.
Honestly, they are the same.
Really?
Yeah. Because
what's one?
The main one, mainly, and we've talked about this before, is like there was a switch when we got married for me, where I was like, okay, I gotta take care of the house, I gotta take care of my wife, and if I get a job, I get a job. If I don't, everything's cool.
Yeah.
You know, and you were gonna be fine with it. Like I was under the impression that you were thinking that also.
Oh yeah, because we never talked about that.
We never talked about it, and especially to further that expectation, for me at least, was because we were moving out to the middle of the country, and you were going to be like 24/7 military.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I was like, okay, like obviously she's thinking the same way I'm thinking, because she's not gonna have time to like do stuff around the house and do all these things and whatnot. So she's gonna expect me to do them, and I'm gonna be a good housewife. I'm gonna do them, and if I get a job, I get a job. But if I don't, everything's gonna be fine because like I'm taking care of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily an expectation now. It's just like we have come to an understanding now that like our dynamic specifically works that way really well for us.
Yeah. Okay.
But that was an expectation that I have of you, that you were going to be fine with it. And at the beginning, you were not. It was a lot of arguing, a lot of stuff.
Right. So I will say, like in the beginning, I don't think we could have like afforded to have it that way, like the way our finances were set up, because it was a lot of stress that was placed on me, and you as well. And I think now, we've talked, and obviously we're on that process of bringing life into the world, so I'm okay with it. It took a while for me to get acquainted with it because the expectation I had from you was the expectation I have for within myself, which is, I'm not looking for someone to take care of me because no one's ever taken care of me like my whole life. Obviously, your parents take care of you to make sure you have shelter, water, and food. But when it came to things outside of that nature, nobody really looked for, I never looked for someone to give those things for me. So to come back to that, when you didn't have the mentality, it kind of threw me off, and it put a wedge between us for a very long time.
Mm.
Like we're just coming out of that
Yeah.
wedge, if we're being honest,
Yeah.
because it took some effort on my end to become acquainted with the idea of you being a stay-at-home mom.
Right. It did, didn't it?
It did.
Which honestly, like at the time I didn't understand it, but now I do. And it does make a lot of sense because I was like, the way that at the time I wanted, like, wanted to take care of you, da, 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 like you weren't used to it, like you said, you know? And that expectation that you had of me, like just constantly being on go and constantly like being a hustler, for
Mm-hmm.
a will, if you will, was like foreign to me. And I tried really hard. But we were arguing constantly. We're just coming out of it because therapy has really helped us really come into our own thoughts and feelings and past traumas.
Yeah.
So it's, it's been crazy.
I think I've also learned to, because I will say this, and this is true
Mm-hmm.
now, but I'm okay with it. Um,
Okay.
we have talked about you being a stay-at-home mom,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm all for it. Like I really am. The only thing that I have to like reflect within myself and remind myself like it's okay is the fact that our children aren't here yet.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a part of me that's still kind of like a little indifferent because it's like, okay, they're not here yet.
Mm-hmm.
So why jump in front of the curveball and cut ties with everything?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever like told you this. Like, no, I haven't. Have I?
No, you haven't, but I do.
You knew it though,
Yeah,
right?
I knew
Yeah.
it.
So I'm curious, how do you like? Do you get where I'm coming from when I say that?
100%. I do.
Okay.
I really do. I don't. Excuse me. I don't like get mad at you for it. Not the way I used to. Because I did used to like, because we would always have these conversations, right? Where you would say that you were totally fine. And then that part of you would creep in and like take the reins and be like, no, you're not fine with this. This is not okay because there's no child in this world. So WTF.
Yeah.
um, and so like it really affected me in my parts then because I'm like, oh my God, there's constant back and forth. But now I totally understand for sure. I really do.
So knowing that, how does it make sense to you to do it?
To do it,
Before, yeah, doing it now while the children have not arrived.
mm-hmm. Oh, honestly, I like we've talked about in the past circumstances. Certain events would kind of place me like in a really dark hole,
Mm-hmm.
and all these other expectations of like expectations of bringing in money to contribute with the finances like did not help me mentally. Um, and I assumed that that we were on the same page in regards to that reason. Then, you know. But I always knew that obviously you still there was a part of you that still struggled with that, of course. But yeah, that made the most sense to me now because like we're trying to get everything in order, you know, and where this process is very taxing
Yeah.
on me mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's
Okay.
the main thing.
So,
And I'd like to think too. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I'd like to think too that like this is a like preview, I guess, to what our future.
sure.
Not a lot of people get have the luxury of like being a stay-at-home wife prior to being a stay-at-home mom. So
It's
I'm
true.
really fortunate enough to have you and to be able to have what we have. And I take great pride in that.
I mean, you do a hell of a job, I will say. Like, things are always in order. You know, you cook, you're always in front of things when it comes to our finances, and we're a hell of a team, I will say. Like, we're doing well financially without you working, which is a really big blessing. Um, but I definitely just I got a new point of view from what you're saying. Like, I didn't realize how much of a burden, not a burden, how much stress, because it's
Mhm.
definitely not a burden, how much stress this process is placing on you
Yeah.
to continue to work. And I didn't really see it in that view, in that vein. I always just saw it as like, oh, my baby.
It's okay.
I always saw it as like my, we've been watching RuPaul's week. What is it? Saboteur?
Saboteur.
Yeah. I always saw my saboteur kind of kicking in, like, oh no, she just wants to have that free ride from you.
Oh. Mhm.
Because, like, obviously, we all have been there in our lives with family, and, people always want things from you. So when I saw it happening with you, I was just like, what the fuck? Like,
Mhm.
is this really happening? And that's why I couldn't understand it, because I was in my head and I'm like, why is she doing this to me? Like, what did
Mm.
I do to her for her to want to do this to me?
Yeah.
And specifically, because we didn't talk about it, so you never told me that this is what you wanted.
Mhm.
But I think that stems back to this beautiful journey of love, because we never had that conversation. Like, we just fell madly in love, like we did. We jumped from the East Coast to the middle of freaking nowhere, and we just roll with the punches of life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until um, reality set in and life altering events started happening, where the skeletons in the closet started to come out, and you
Mhm.
actually had no choice but to look at them.
Right.
And so this paints a perfect picture of that happening, because for the longest I used to run from this conversation, and now I'm actually proud of us, and I'm actually okay. Like, I always say that in every argument we've had about finances, I always told him, like, it's not about the money, babe. Like, it's never about the money. We have plenty of money. It's not about that. And it's true. Like, it never was about that. I think what it was about was wanting to know, what was your perspective? Like,
Mm.
what is going through your head? What do you see when I say this? What do you want from this?
Mhm.
And we finally got to that point now where I know where your headspace is, you know where my headspace is, and I appreciate you seeing my point of view, but I also understand why you feel the way you feel.
Mhm.
Because in our arguments when it came to finances, I think a lot of times we're always trying to steer each other to our perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in recent time, especially right here, I'm seeing your point of view and I'm not trying to steer you off and say, well, I see what you're saying, but you still can do a couple deals here and there. But it's like, if your head's not in it, why am I trying to push you there? And if we're good financially, why am I still trying to push you there even more? Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of cons to this topic that is given, like, are you doing it just out of, trying to spite me at this point? Like, why are you pushing and pushing and pushing? But that's all
Right.
about saboteur kicking in.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It's super crazy.
I know. Mm. It's like, oh, whenever we talk about that episode, whenever we do that episode, I'm gonna be boohoo crying. Like, because my mind is only on like this journey.
I know. And I'm here with you.
I know.
It's like that quote we saw where it's like, you have to limit your desires and the one you're focusing on will come to you.
Yeah.
And that is our desire. And that's all I care about. So the rest can go into the abyss for all I care.
Right.
And I also, want you to know that because we have other engagements lined up behind closed doors that aren't like making money off the gate, doesn't mean that you're not working and you're not doing things to help contribute into our finances. Like, I don't want to negate that from you. I don't want it to seem like you just someone that's just like a freeloader or whatever. That's not anything that fits your description whatsoever. Like, you do so much for our household, and I appreciate you so much. Like, I really do. And one thing I've learned through our finances arguments, because they were plenty, I think that was like,
so many.
I want to say, if I had to pick any argument that was putting a strain on our marriage, it was finances.
Yeah. Which is so crazy to think about also because like we're okay.
We
We have
are.
always been pretty
We've
okay.
always been okay. And so with that being said, I'm like, all I want is for us to enjoy life together. Like, regardless of what that looks like. 'Cause that looks different for every couple.
Yeah.
And I also, one of my other expectations was, I just had this idea, the ideal couple of us. And when I think about the ideal point of view of how we would look, and as we started getting closer to that, like, not even getting closer to it, like as we start going in that direction, I didn't like it. I was like, you're gonna be going when? You're gonna be going how much? I'm gonna be going this much. When are we ever gonna see each other? When are we ever gonna spend time together? Like, I don't
Yeah.
like that.
No, that's not us. And we like to do things together.
That's why we prefer to do ventures, like side ventures together, because we get to continue to spend time together, and then we also continue to flourish and make another stream of income. So it's like, why not?
Right, absolutely. But I really, really love that you're not like how you used to be, where you're like throwing a billion ideas
Oh yeah,
at me at once
yeah,
and getting upset when I'm like not on board with them.
right.
And also getting upset when I'm like on board with one or two, and then I'm telling you all this information and all the costs and stuff, and you're like, well, no, we need to focus on da 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 da. You need to focus on da 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 da. And I'm like, well, Jesus, take the wheel and drive us to Nazareth. Mm. So I'm really grateful for that because we're both like that. You know, we both have plenty of ideas and I believe that, like, some of them are going to be executed,
Yeah.
It's just a matter, truthfully, at this point, it's just a matter of like when, because, like we said, we're good.
We are.
We're good. It's just a matter of doing the research and crunching the numbers and doing it.
Yeah.
That's it. Um, I think now though, like we really are. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we are having this expectation right now where we're solely focusing on growing our family.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is number one right now.
Okay, great.
So I don't think about anything else. I mean, I'm enjoying my career, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that kind of helps settle myself when it came to those expectations,
Mm-hmm.
because I started looking inward. Like when I started looking inward, I started finding a lot of the answers they were within myself.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time I kept looking outward, and that's a dangerous game to play when you're
Yeah,
looking for answers outside yourself.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to think about, like how far we've come. You know what I mean?
I'm so proud of us.
Me too, babe. High five. Mm. I'm really into high fives lately.
You are. This is the second high five we've done.
Well, but absolutely, I'm so proud of us. We've come such a long way. And we have plenty more work to go.
I mean, we go through shit,
Of course, that's life,
but
right?
that's just the nature of the beast. But
Mm-hmm.
we come out on top together, and that's what I appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness gracious. I love it so much. You are like my bestest friend. I know people think like we're so weird that we're probably faking it every time because every beginning or every end we're always like, "You're my best friend. I love you so much," like a billion times. But we say this to each other like every day,
Pretty much.
multiple times a day.
Yeah. I say I love you to you like so much.
Yeah, I
I
do
mean, I
too.
messaged you today when I was at work randomly. It's like, I love you so much.
I know. I was like,
And I'm thinking about you.
oh my goodness. uh, I'm really glad that the expectations that we had when we first got together aren't what like destroyed us, you know what I mean? Because it could have very well easily happened. And we've heard horror stories, of that happening, of people really just like throwing in the towel at a moment's notice. And because social media and the intranet is so heavy and it's only going to get worse
Yeah.
or better, depending on how you see it, how you use it to your advantage.
True.
But a lot of people, use it as a means to garner opinions and as a means for them to also like pull people in on their side.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever out there that like simply just react to things that people share.
Yeah.
And it's so it's hard to look at it from all types of perspectives because like we're human, we're going to have our own perspectives. So we could have very well just stuck to our own opinions about each other and our own expectations about each other and our own conquest for change
Yeah.
for each other. And it would have been like the end of us fairly early on. And It just didn't happen.
It didn't. It kind of goes back to the idea of what um, society is starting to see what is deemed a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And where we're headed right now, a fact is merely just an opinion.
Literally.
And that's very scary because, opinions are volatile. Like they're constantly changing. So one minute, they should be together, and the next minute is like, divorce her. So what can you do at that point?
Uh-huh.
You can't, like you said, you can't focus on what people are garnering as like the truth or what you should do, because no one
Mm-hmm.
knows you like you know yourself, and no one knows your marriage like you know your marriage. Like
Mm-hmm.
people get to see a certain lens of your marriage, and then they make their opinion on it. They don't see the whole truth.
Right.
Hell, I don't see the whole truth in my marriage because I see it from my own lens.
Exactly.
Like this is a distorted ass lens, and so is yours. So I can't keep poking at your lens because you're refusing to see what I see. I got to take
Mm-hmm.
a step back and say, you know what? What is she seeing that I'm just not seeing?
Yeah.
And the moment I do that, you do the same. You're like, I see what you're saying, babe.
Yeah.
I got you
It's
100%.
definitely easier said than done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because even sometimes, like over the weekend, we just get in our own heads and we like refuse to take everything with a grain of salt, and really like just think. All, especially me, I just like jump a lot of the times straight into like a mode. You know what I mean? I allow one of my parts to just take over
Mm-hmm.
without process of elimination, without really thinking, without seeing different points of views and stuff like that. And she's a work in progress. He's a work in progress.
So I think this kind of connects to the topic at hand, which is
Hmm.
expectations. You kind of had a moment this weekend,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming because you had an expectation of an outcome and it didn't work out in your favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. And for some reason, it just like this weekend did not want to let up. That last weekend, it did not want to let up. But it did at the same time, which is weird.
I think you just had to go through it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that is happening now. I used to be afraid of arguing with you
Mm.
because we had got to a space where everything was good. Like, and you think like you get to live in la la land for the rest of your marriage, never argue, no matter how many years you've been together. Like you secretly want that time to come where you're like, can we just go this long without fucking arguing? Like, can we do that?
Wrong.
That's not true because
No.
as in therapy we learn arguing is not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
It also is like that person showing their part because they feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it happened, I knew that's what was happening. That's one thing I can appreciate about therapy. It's like when you happened last Friday, I was like, all right, one of our parts need attention. But at the same time, you was poking me, so okay, my parts want to come out and play too. They get a little upset. So it's like you're saying, it's not easy said and done. But what I appreciate is that we go through it
Yeah.
and we come out.
Yeah.
We're coming out sooner.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what I can
Oh,
really give
that's
applause
true.
to.
Oh my goodness.
We're
That's
coming out
true. That's
real
true.
sooner.
I totally forgot about that. I know. My goodness gracious. Because those expectations will have my parts in a chokehold, man. I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you. Especially my
You're
defensive
upset.
part, my defensive slash protective part. He is a stubborn motherfucker.
Don't I know it?
Mm-hmm. He's a hoarder for expectations. Oh man. But I'm working through it.
We're all a work in progress.
We are. You sure are. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
I don't ever want it to end.
Me either. Absolutely not. I don't look forward to those. Well, I mean, I do, but I don't specifically think in my mind or wish, like, when are we going to go X amount of time without arguing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. That's not it in my forefront, and I never want it to be, truthfully.
Yeah, and that's what I've kind of let go in my mind is
Mhm.
like, girl, there ain't no such thing as y'all gonna be kumbaya for fucking a year straight. Like y'all been together almost 7 years, married for 6. You're gonna have some friction because
Mhm.
y'all know each other.
Yeah, exactly. We know each other, and then those parts of us always have expectations of what we know of each other
Mm-hmm.
and holding on to them so tight.
Right.
And not realizing that like there's always room for change and growth.
And they can just be little stubborn bastards.
Just kidding, no. We're working on a big conference call
Uh-huh.
within each other every time these moments occur.
Work in progress.
Oh,
I love you.
now that you was on my heart.
I enjoy every conversation we
Me too, honey bun. Yes.
have.